is just a huge, huge, huge honor for me to be podcasting, not the lip doctor, but the lip doctor, Dr. Nicole, who goes by Nikki Bell. She is a celebrity injector and oral surgeon. She has been recently interviewed by Black Enterprise magazine for a feature on women in business, Rolling Out magazine, and New York Newsday. What is she wearing? Cameo. Dr. Bell has received the following Long Island Business News Award in 2018, the New York Power Women's Award in 2019, the Dominican Dental Society Award for lecturing, and the Top Doctor Award in New York for 2019. She recently lectured at the New York State Women's Dental Conference on the beauty and business of Botox in October 2019. She has lectured in Las Vegas at the Aesthetic Medical Conference and October 27. Panelist for Fit Doctor New York Female Health Discussion Board. Dr. Bell hosted a Jamaica mission trip with the Grammy Award-winning Pastor Donnie McClurkin and with the clearance to work in maximum sentencing facilities around the island in September 2019. Dr. Bell appeared on Season 3, Episode 1 of 90 Day Fiancé, along with her patient and reality TV star Darcy Silva, which aired in August 2019. Dr. Bell is popular amongst and has treated a host of celebrities and social media influencers, including some of you may currently be following, including Darcy Silva, Stacey Silva, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Mob Wives, activists, and reality star Yandi Smith, and Love and Hip Hop's Jonathan Fernandez, and a host of beauty and makeup influences, which can be seen on her Instagram, The Lip Doctor, which has 23,000 followers. I'd have to live to be about 198 years old to even catch that. Dr. Bell has also launched her product line, which includes the Lip Doctor makeup and skincare line, and it sold out in less than 30 days of launch and has gained popularity among her followers. Dr. Bell's current ventures include expanding her product line and influencing the future medical doctors of the world with the launch of the Lip Doctor University in 2021. Nikki, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I knew it was a long shot to get a celebrity like you to come on the show, but you graciously obliged. How are you doing today?
I am feeling so well today. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for me to even be on here. I think that you first even recognized me after my Black Enterprise publication. And I felt honored that you even acknowledged it. So I'm very, very happy and excited to be here on a forum that represents my profession.
Well, thank you. I always thought, what I've always done for cosmetics is whenever I go to dinner with someone, I just turn out the lights or I sit by the light and unscrew the light bulb. I just think what you do has to be very stressful because your clientele has crazy expectations. I mean, when I'm doing a filling on a molar, they're not even going to see it, but I would never want to be a fellow in the Academy of Cosmetic. I would never want to do your job. I wouldn't rather be a pediatric dentist. At that point, I would just quit dentistry, turn in my license. But is it kind of stressful working on patients who have such high expectations?
Do you know what? It used to be. So initially, when I was trying to find my way in the aesthetic world, there's a learning curve to everything that we do. So it felt that way for quite a while. However, that quickly changed. So along with me understanding, just like anything else, once you master a procedure and your confidence is there and you deliver a lot of successful results, then that all changes. And I must say that aesthetics, to me, feels just a little bit more pleasurable than all of the other procedures that I've done for 20 years. So for me, dentistry became a little mundane, and that was a personal thing. I still love it, and I still enjoy it, and I still practice it. And dentistry is my bread and butter, so it is my heart. And especially the cosmetics. However, aesthetics, I'm a woman, I'm a mature woman of a certain age. So this became very exciting for me. This is something that I could also perform on myself and share my results with. And I could help other women to make decisions. And you know what? I'm leaving out males. just as many males out there that need our services in the aesthetic world. So I have to admit that it doesn't feel intimidating at all. It's actually a lot of fun. And the before and after, that instant gratification makes it very exciting.
Okay, well, this is Dentistry Uncensored, so I'm going to ask you a very brutally honest question. When I see the people crushing it in cosmetics, they're always just gorgeous people. I mean, look at you. Look at Bill Dorfman. You never see a fat, short, bald guy in Beverly Hills crushing it in facelifts, tummy tucks. So if you're young and in dental school, would it be honest to say, if you want to be a cosmetic dentist, you might want to look in the mirror first? I mean, you wouldn't go to an aerobics class if it was a 400-pound lady smoking a cigar, drinking a keg. Do you think that a big part of the formula is you got to be hot yourself?
Nope. I'm going to beg to differ.
Really?
There's tons of doctors out there. Look at Dr. Miami. I think he's very, in terms of looks, ordinary, and he is huge on the spectrum. And I know that's surgical, so it's a little different, but he also does a lot of the aesthetics. I know that personally. But there are a lot of doctors out there getting attention. And I think it kind of just depends on who you connect to and who your audience becomes. So it's not based on the person. And I hope that no one judges me purely on my looks, my race or ethnicity, or for any other factor. And I have lived my life trying not to do the same thing, not gauge people for personal reasons. Of course, you like someone, but I hope that the things that I say and that I do and that I endorse help to influence their decision. To me, that's far more important. But no, I don't think that I think at first glance, I mean, I'm a woman and I like glamorous things and I exude that. And so does my office. And I can't help myself. It is who I am. However, it doesn't define me. And it certainly did not assist me at all with me attaining my education. When I'm very serious about my education and what kind of effort I put into it.
So you're saying I could be a cosmetic dentist and a personal trainer? Really? My
Absolutely.
gosh. I'm gonna start with the Mr. Universe trainer first. I'm gonna see how many people come to my classes.
A wonderful idea. And you know what's funny? So every morning on my Instagram page, I post my workout before you see me turn into the lip doctor and put on a coat and engage with the patients in my office in the professional environment. So they actually, I feel like they engage with me personally. So there are people that follow me purely for fitness. Just a couple of months ago, I was in the airport and a woman stopped me and she's like, "Oh my God, you're in the airport at 5 a.m. instead of doing your workout." So people like to know that you're multifaceted, you're real, and there's an actual person there with a real lifestyle.
So, Rolling Out did a great article on you. I published it on Dental Town under Cosmetic Dentistry. It says Nicole, the lip doctor Bell, redefining cosmetic dentistry. What did that mean by redefining cosmetic dentistry? What was the gist of the article? Because most of the people listening right now, they're either commuting to work, or if they're not very lucky in life, they're on the treadmill stuck for an hour. And so what is that if they can't read it right now? But what is the gist of that article?
So the redefine part, if I remember correctly, because I think I remember my interview for that one fairly well. It wasn't that long ago. We discussed a lot about the change of my office environment from being purely cosmetic dental to aesthetics, and it is now a spa environment. And for dentists, that's not a simple conversion. Also, I launched at the same time as this came out a product line, and I went straight into makeup. I skipped over skincare and went directly into makeup. And I wanted to get my lipsticks out there, and I wanted to endorse, my fun, I call it my fun side. I learned a lot about skincare and makeup from having this aesthetic background. And like I said, these are things that I enjoy. So I'm plumping lips and smoothing faces. But then, you know, as women, we also enjoy that beauty aspect. And so the way that we look is very important to us, and it's especially important to me. So when that article did come out, they were surprised that they were unaware that I was also launching a product line at the same exact time. And they were very impressed by my endeavor. And I guess most doctors, I don't know a lot of doctors that have skincare and product lines or that endorse them personally. Usually, you know, there's a third party company or someone assisting them, or they already have some kind of personal celebrity, and I do not.
One of the things that grabbed my attention the most on that article was saying that your decision to be, you were thinking about dentistry, medicine, but a big influence in your life was the dean of your dental school. Most people, if they could shoot the dean of their dental school and not get caught and go to jail, they sign up for it. They'd buy $1,000 lottery ticket. You actually are you on the record for saying that you actually liked your dental school dean?
Love, love. So I had an interesting experience. I think my entire life is like this, full of stories. When I went to Meharry, it was a new area for me. I'm a New Yorker. I'm moving to Nashville, Tennessee. It was the school of my dreams. So I get down there. I'm not expecting much. I don't know what to expect. I'm a young girl from New York going out to Nashville, Tennessee. And when I originally, actually, she interviewed me prior to me getting in. So she interviewed me. So I met her. I already was familiar with her and had no idea that later on we would develop a true mentorship and in life and for the rest of my life. So not only did I end up babysitting her children after I got into school there, we developed a personal relationship and I was her babysitter for 4 years. And I love her children like I love my own children and to this day. And I still know them and I'm still in contact with them, and they're high schoolers and I saw them since they were babies. But she's also my sorority sister, and that sisterhood is everything. So I'm an AKA, she's an AKA. I joined later on throughout my years as I matriculated through Meharry, and she was part of that inspiration. And I admired her. She's a businesswoman. She's a professional. She's an administrator of a medical college. She's everything. She's fabulous. So she really influenced me. When I delivered that keynote speech, I directed all my attention towards her, and she sat next to me during that delivery.
Oh,
so it was a very special moment. It was so big. You know what? All that celebrity stuff, it could go down the drain. That, to me, that's the ultimate, because I'm big into education. Both my parents were educators.
Well, that is interesting. You know, we just lost the first dental school dean that I ever heard that people actually liked him was the one at UAP who just passed away, Degoni, Dr. Degoni. And Arizona has 2 dental schools, and it has one in Mesa, Midwestern. It has one in Mesa is AT Still, and the one in Glendale is Midwestern. And the dean of the AT Still, Jack Dillenberg, Art Degoni was his idol, because in our generation, our age, if you were older, the deans were all still like Marine guys. Like when you wax up your first crown, show it to them, how does this look? They just crushed it. Their job, I'm sure they loved us, but they thought in their walnut brain that the meaner and harder and tougher they were, they'd make real men out of us. And they didn't realize that by the time we got out of there, we'd take a sniper shot on them if we could have. So, you know, it's been a huge change in culture, and I just think it's so cool. And that dean that you're talking about is Sheree Farmer Dixon. DDS, MSPA, right? Is that the right one?
Absolutely.
Please don't tell me.
Yes.
Please don't tell me that she converted you to Nashville country music from New York, Long Island rock and roll.
I know, a little bit. She did. She converted me to a lot of things.
But the country music one wasn't a home run. That one didn't get you all the way. Memphis. I got to tell the
I
international.
was a big Shania Twain fan down there. Huge. And Dixie Chicks.
Well, I got to tell you, the best part of America really is their music. I mean, and you only got three places. You got Bill Street in Memphis. You got Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and then Nashville, Tennessee. You got Second Avenue. And I'm telling you, if you say, well, I'm not into jazz, those aren't my three genres. I'm a 70s, 80s rocker. When you're on Bourbon Street, Bill Street, or Second Avenue, you're totally into that music.
You're in your element. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that just gets you. So you said you were sorority sisters. I assume that just means you're drinking buddies. But what does a sorority mean to you? Because a lot of kids in dental school, when they're looking at $100,000 a year in student loans, they want to cut back and not do sororities, fraternities, all that kind of stuff. But as you get older in life, you realize it's not what you know, it's what you know, who you know, and networking. Do you think joining a sorority on dental student loans is worth the investment just for networking and mentors? Or is that an expenditure that you would give up?
So for me, I would pay 10 times what I paid during my experience, because of all the benefits that have come along with it since I joined. So historically, Black colleges have sororities and fraternities that operate very differently. I was unable to actually drink and behave like that during my initiation process. It's very different. It's very strong in academics, and they're a little harder on you in the hazing process, a little different. So it is not a party frat house type of environment. We didn't even have frat homes on our campus or anything like that. So it's very different, the experience. We take it very seriously. And the educational component is what comes into part, but what the biggest part of it is that service element. So when you join, you are joined for a lifetime, and you have to practice service. My mother also, I'm a legacy. She was a past member of my sorority, and I learned a lot watching her grow up and being involved in cotillions and some of their events. So I learned a lot about all of the service that they provide, scholarships for a lot of students that are underprivileged to get into schools. They go into neighborhoods, nursing homes routinely, and neighborhoods that are underserved, and really teach hands-on. Traditionally, we do that all the time. We're very engaged. So it gives us a huge connection. We're actually more active after grad school, from grad school on, than most sororities and fraternities are known for doing. We're extremely active after the educational period.
And when you said in your words, Black minority dental school, when you think of a Black minority dental school, is that mainly Howard University, which is named after me, Howard, and Meharry? Is it just me and Meharry? Is that the only two, or would you consider 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, so there's a host of them, and they're all over Howard. And unfortunately, Howard University wasn't named after you, but
it wasn't. My gosh, I thought the whole time it was named after me.
What I can tell you now is that there are only 3 medical schools that are historically Black medical schools, and that's Howard, Meharry, and Morehouse. So there years ago, like for my grandparents, there weren't a lot of options for them when they were pursuing their professional education. And those were the main 3 options. So I grew up learning a lot about that in my household. And that's why it was very important for me to go to attend Meharry.
So do you think Morehouse and Atlanta, do you think they should start a dental school?
Of course I do.
Why don't you start the Morehouse, the Lip Doctor Morehouse Dental School of Atlanta?
They probably asked me to start as Spelman first before across the street rather than Morehouse, but with the women. But yes, no, we should combine it, and they should actually add a dental component. Why not?
Well, I want to ask you. This is Dentistry Uncensored. So I want to talk about the controversial stuff.
Yes.
When you got out of dental school, when you started dental school, did it seem to you that it was a white male world, and now and that a woman or a minority was outsider, underrepresented, and does it still feel that way today in 2020?
Yeah, so it's always felt that way. And I think that's why a lot of Black Americans are up in arms now. And now we're able to, I feel like, openly admit to it more. Nothing's changed. Nothing's really improved. Nothing's gotten better. It is heightened just by all the issues that are going on right now. Did it feel worse? Yes. So it did, simply because it took longer for things to start evolving. So I'll give you a perfect example. From the day that I stepped out of dental school and joined the Nassau County Dental Society, I was the only Black member and board member, I'll say. There were less than 5 Black members, and I would say I was the only Black member out of about a couple hundred. I would say like to about 200 for 8 years. And then things started changing a little bit. You'd see a few more and a few more. You meet a few more, and it took time. And it's it's something that you openly feel, but it's difficult for you to express to the other race that you're feeling that. Now, for someone like me, I grew up in a white neighborhood, and my environment had been like that my entire life. So going to a Black college was very different for me. So that's kind of like, flipped. I had the reverse happen to me. But now I'm accustomed to being both types of environments. And, but I do think that it's important that we start changing and evolving and understanding the feelings and sentiments of everyone worldwide, and especially within our profession. And you need to know and understand that. So even as a professional, you know who you're dealing with, how to address your patients in your communities, outside of your communities, and how they feel about you. That's very important. We have to get in touch with ourselves and be real, and really make sure that we had a level of understanding with one another.
Yeah, that word openly was interesting term. My little brother's gay, and they usually only use that term for gay. They say, well, he's openly gay. They never say Howard's openly bald. He's openly eats macaroni and cheese. And it's just sad. I mean, this country was built on 2 horrendous crimes. They came here, and the first thing they did is they cleared out the indigenous people, and the Europeans in the United States and Canada and Australia. It's just what they did. And then the slavery issue that follows. I mean, this country was built on 2 horrendous mortal sins. My 2 older sisters are nuns, and these are considered mortal sins. These aren't venial sins where you have to say 3 Hail Marys. These are mortal sins that it's just embarrassing. It's so ugly. It's so gross. My brother, he got so sick of, he was in Kansas. He got so sick of all the anti-gay stuff. He moved to Sydney, Australia, and he's a resident in Australia, and he has no chance of coming back because down there, they're not Cretan Neanderthals. They're intelligent people, and it's just these are just such embarrassing times for me. I wish Americans could appeal to their better angels, and it will in the long run. But you're right; it just takes so damn long. And if you want to talk about any of those issues, we can. I feel like an idiot going from that to cosmetic dentistry, but
no, and I would love to. And I think this is the time because we have an important election coming up. And I have a sorority sister by the name of Kamala Harris, who's running for vice president. And it's
is that lady who's Jamaican me crazy?
She sure is. Yeah, she is. She's making a lot of people crazy right now, as she should, and she's gorgeous and she is well qualified, and I am so proud of her. And let me tell you something, this sisterhood has nothing to do with it. She is a sharp woman, and it just makes me so proud to see her out there and, really taking a stance on real issues against a lot of men that don't look like her. And it's important to see that. It's important for me. It is important for my daughter and my son to see this and witness these times. It means a lot to us historically. It should mean a lot to everyone historically.
Yeah, and I know I've said this before on the show, but I saw a documentary on Sesame Street, and the two biggest characters were Oscar the Grouch and Big Bird, and they were by the same artist. And the Big Bird was obvious, but it was shocking to me that Oscar the Grouch was the other most popular. Now, they both got beat out by Elmo, and then the guy got old and retired, but they asked, what's the magic of Oscar the Grouch? And they said, that's your grandpa. He's yelling at the screen. And my gosh, I'm always telling my four boys, I don't want to be Oscar the Grouch and be yelling at that TV screen. And what people don't realize is that it is all about the children. And the children should not be subjected to the shit they're seeing on TV, the shit presidents are saying. It's just
We're allowed to curse on here?
Oh, hell no. Only me. No. But yeah, it's embarrassing. And I grew up with 5 sisters, and my first bout with all this was with my own mother, because since I was a boy, I could swim in the river, which the Arkansas River is like literally 100 feet from our house. I could swim in the river, and I didn't have to be home until the street lights are on. But my 5 sisters, they couldn't swim in the river. She put me in jeans and iron patches on them, but my sisters were in dresses, and if they soiled their dress, I was in trouble. But if I got a new hole in my Levi's, it was expected. And I used to always wonder as a little kid that I used to think, God, I'm glad I'm not a girl so I can swim in the river and not wear a dress. And I'll never forget, in 1979, my dad had 9 Sonic drive-ins, and he's with a bunch of franchisees. I'll never forget this ever. And the news broke that the United Kingdom elected a woman prime minister, Margaret Thatcher. And here's my idol. Here's my dad. Jim Williams owned like 1,000 Sonics, and Roger Carpenter owned 100. And my dad was the only guy who didn't have a jet. He was the small guy. And they all looked at each other and they said, what the hell would they do something like that for? They just picked a woman, and their heads were all thumping, and I was like, holy moly. I mean, what is she supposed to do with her wanker? Just like my mom let me swim in the swim pool, and I'm like, okay, is my male organ an inflatable device? I mean, if I start to drown, does this save me? I mean, I just couldn't believe it. And when Barack Obama won, I said to everybody, I said, that's what you'd expect, because black men could vote in 1862 and women couldn't vote until the suffrage movement in 1912. History always repeats itself. Black male could vote 30 years before white women. So I said, yeah, we'll have a black president a long time before we have a female president. And it's a slow moving deal. So how do you stay motivated? How do you stay upbeat during times like this? Why do you not just like screw the world, hate the world, be negative, nasty, and just start, just stay at home all day and drink beer in your underwear? How do you stay fired up and motivated to keep it going?
I do that sometimes too, but it's with wine and my robe. However, no, I am motivated by the youth, and I have prayed about this several times, and I know that I was selected to mentor young people and to help others in my profession that need guidance. And I know that message came to me very clearly one day. And since then, I know that I have to find it within myself, find strength to wake up, be energized and positive and strong. And when I get weak and I tend to lose a little bit of faith, I get a little bit more engrossed in my Bible and I dig deep for messages and for the word, and it's there. And I have two young children. I've shared that with you. They're 9 and 10 years old, and I know that if I give up, where do they get their strength from? How do I continue to lead? I have to lead from my home first. And you know the saying, you're no good to anyone else unless you take care of yourself. So mentally, it's really important that I keep positive people around me, that like I said, I try to spread the word, and I just do make sure that I also practice it. That's really important. I have to feel good. So working out is a big part of my routine in my day. And that's very important to me. So that's the thing that I do between 5 and 6 a.m. in the morning is I wake up and make sure that I incorporate fitness into my routine, because my mental health is important to me also, especially with all the negativity going around. I voted yesterday, and someone asked me today how I felt on the line, what my experience was like in my area, because they're familiar with where I'm from in Long Island. And it almost feels like being in a red state, just being online there. And so you experience different things, and it's important to stay mentally strong. So those are the little keys, the few things that I do. But I know that the important thing is that I stay positive. So I have strong parents, and they instilled all of that into me, and I can't give up. We live for our ancestry. So, people died so I could be here today, and I have to keep that legacy going.
I applaud your attitude. I'm a Irish who drinks box wine. So we're on two different sides of the planet. You're in a fancy robe with a fancy French wine. I've got my box wine from Costco, thinking these guys, they just, oh my God.
And I have fur slippers.
Okay, I want to ask you another Dentistry Uncensored deal, because I know how my homies think. I mean, I've lectured 1,000 times. I give my email to everyone, Howard at Dentaltown. They're thinking, I know if they're from, I was born in Kansas, went to Creighton in Omaha and dental school in Missouri. It's actually pronounced Misery, but it's spelled like Missouri. But anyway, they're thinking cosmetic dentistry, it's all women, and if there's a man, he's gay. Is that a safe bet? I mean, are all your men getting Botox? I mean, I don't know. And I get this because when I'm with my brother, what activities can we do? I mean, I don't want to go to gay bars. We go to lunch, dinner, or I go and get my nails done. And I love it just because that's something we can both do, and you got to do your nails. But I always have them paint a big red flower on it, because it's so confusing to redneck men when they're talking to you and they see that your toenail has a flower on it, because they're like, I thought he had 4 kids. He's obviously gay. He has a flower on his toenail. But honestly,
No.
what percent of your practice is boys versus girls? And of those boys, what percent are gay men versus hetero?
So, what's interesting? I would say it's still about 70-30. So there's a majority of women. However,
so I was right on the first part, 70-30. I got an A on the first part of the question.
You did absolutely. The males, and we have a stronger following of, I would say, a gay population in our Brooklyn office, but I think because of accessibility, like where the location, so it's closer to the city. My other office is in a very suburban neighborhood in Long Island, so that affects who's in the area, affects our population, the demographic of our population. A large majority of the males that come in the office in the city area are gay, and the rural areas are straight males whose wives send them in, and they are huge fans of
spousal abuse. I wasn't thinking of that. That's just pure, plain and simple spousal abuse. Going to get your nails done, and I want your teeth bleaching. Yes, dear.
It is, but they get addicted. It's addicting.
Yeah, because it makes them feel better.
Absolutely. I think they get compliments. They notice the changes. They love it. They eat it up.
I know you're the lip doctor, and I'll get to that, but I still got a couple questions up for it. I know a lot of, I've had this conversation at a lot of tables and bars for 30 years at lectures. And when they were rolling out the cosmetic dentistry, I mean, you got to remember that, this was a revolution. When I got out of school in 87, it was just beginning. And there wasn't one person in 1987 in a university who thought one day the PFM would be extinct and replaced with Empress, and nobody saw this coming. I mean, the PFM was just extincting the gold crown. Like, I have 7 restorations. They're all gold cemented with zinc phosphate. So the PFM and what really kicked off the cosmetic revolution, hands down, was Ivoclar's. My gosh, the president of Ivoclar. He just led this this whole revolution. And Bob Ganley was the CEO of Ivoclar, and he's the one who really saw the cosmetic revolution, and he really got it going. And from that time to now, all the guys that look like me were all like, okay, we get it. I mean, bleaching, bonding, all this on the front of the tooth. But come on, dude, a second molar? Nobody ever sees a second molar. I mean, I don't think I've ever talked to a person in my life where I could look in their mouth and see first or second molars, and even upper molars. So a lot of people are thinking cosmetic dentistry is anterior forward, and I can show you this in other parts of the world. Like, go to the Philippines. When you go to middle class Asia, only the women get the dentistry. They root canal buildup and PFM, the front 6 teeth, upper and lower. They have nothing behind the canine. And then there's her husband, edentulous and barefoot, and thinks she's gorgeous. And so you see this around the world where it's just the front 6 teeth. So my question to you is, you're a lip doctor. That's the frame of this window of the teeth. And I mean, how do molars fit into this equation? No one sees your molars, or am I just nuts?
You are really concerned about these molars, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so much easier to do an MOD amalgam, and they last for 38 years. Now you got this rubber dam doing this deal with, all this high overhead. I mean, amalgam, no rubber dam, $1 spill, 10 minutes, it lasts 38 years. Now we got to replace it with this inert plastic that has no defense against all the microorganisms. You got a rubber dam, no moisture. And I'm sitting there doing all this the whole time thinking, well, no one's going to ever see it anyway.
Okay, but we didn't even talk about implants. What about implants? That teeth matter.
But do they matter from a cosmetic point of view? I mean, do you think people's molars affect the lips and the color and the teeth? And when you see a beautiful person on the cover of a Glamour magazine, you never see their back teeth. So do back teeth matter?
Yes, we all studied functional occlusal analysis. Absolutely. So aesthetically, do they have to be as pleasing? No. But are they a part of the story because of the function and the importance of that? Absolutely. I don't think I've ever done a full mouth rehab case and not lengthened teeth in the posterior aspect of their mouth. So the best way for me to address them typically is with crowns. Because the functionality, that restorative MOD doesn't have the same ability to hold and sustain that bite the way that a crown does. So for me, I have always had to incorporate molars into my case. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Another thing I noticed with you, you're one of your, you got so many followers on Instagram. I mean, that is just amazing. 23,000 followers. But I noticed a lot of your posts say medicine plus nature plus blessings. It seems like that means something special to you. What do those 3 words mean to you?
They are. So there are different labels for our products, and I love incorporating that. I was trying to play on words that meant something to me, but I wanted the person that received the item to also feel like it was going to help them with their skincare issue. So medicine, strong for me because I have a strong medical background. I was a biochem major, and there's a medical component in each product. So it's a little stronger than something that would be completely organic and natural that you would find typically on a shelf. Then so there's a medicinal component. Sometimes like glycolic acid, we have a lot of that in our products. And products that, unless you have my credentials by your name, you're not able to incorporate into your product. And then the natural element is I'm an organic girl. I eat clean, and I told you I work out a lot. So I like more products that are more natural. So I try to incorporate that also into the line. I use a lot of essential oils in the practice and personally within my home on my own skin. I try to use a lot of natural elements. So of course, I've taken them and incorporated them into those bottles also. And blessings are just simply just that. I want to just spread the love and make sure that people understand that all of my products that I've created were personal. I created them with a lot of care, a lot of love, and a lot of concerns. I try to incorporate, and I think you'll like this plug, the entire spectrum of shades and ethnicities into all of my bottles, so they address all types of skincare issues. A lot of times we walk into stores and feel like there are products that are not made for us or geared for us or every complexion. Mine are not like that. So there's a Fitzpatrick skincare, scale, and there are lasers that I can't purchase in my office because it will not treat my complexion. It wasn't developed, and it cannot help to, help me with a skincare related issue due to my color. And so I wanted to make sure that a lot of ethnicities, I actually traveled to Israel a couple of years ago and learned a lot about some products from there, from the Dead Sea. And then I traveled to China last year, and you learn a lot about the natural components that they incorporate into their skincare routine there. So I took all of this and I wanted to just share my knowledge and incorporate it into my skincare line.
And when you travel around the world, is Darcy, is he your baggage handler? Does he just carry all your luggage, Darcy Silva? Does he
She.
Oh, that's a she.
Yeah.
Well, I was going back to the Bachelor thing. Who was your?
So actually, she does pick a bachelor, but it's from her show, The 90-Day Fiance, and now she has her own spinoff. So you missed it, Howard. You have to watch it. She has her own show. She just got engaged. This is like a big deal. She spent a couple of seasons looking for a man, a European man, and finally met one. And it looks like she came to the office and it was fabulous. And it looks like they're really happy. And so we wish her well, and we hope for the best for her. She's very popular. You think I have a lot of followers? She has 1 million and over 1 million.
Well, I actually have 1 million followers, but they're all in my mind. I'm only a legend in my own mind. These kids come out of dental school and they're looking at you and they're saying, when I grow up, I want to be a cosmetic dentist just like you. But in your title, it says Cosmetic and Laser Dental Studio. And they're thinking they already have $400,000 student loans. If they bought a CAD cam, there's another 140. If they bought a Millennium Laser, there's another 140. They bought a CBCT, that's another 100. But they could make 3 decisions and double their debt. What kind of laser does a top cosmetic dentist have? Is it really expensive? Is there affordable?
So yes, there's everything. These days they're popular now. So I started out with the same debt, and I remember buying my first water lace MD from BioLace back in I don't want to date myself, 2000 something. And when I bought that, I was like, whoa, that is a high-end car. It was $100,000. And but I wanted to improve my practice, the scope of my practice. And that laser taught me a lot. Actually, that laser pivoted me into the cosmetics. So I could remove moles and warts and lesions and wrinkles. I learned a lot about wrinkles and little deformities and hairs and, a lot of small lesions that most people don't pay any attention to. So I would find some patients, and I would occasionally offer them, I would say, listen, I have this service that I could offer with the laser. In addition to that, I had to learn how to just pick it up and use it. So you know, if you spend that kind of money, you have to use it. So everyone that came to my office knew that if you were getting, even if it's a simple restoration, that Dr. Bell was going to use this laser on you. It's a different type of experience. And they loved it. They saw water and light and they didn't hear the sound. And it took a little longer sometimes, but they actually appreciated the experience. And my patients could tell you. And that they did enjoy it. I used it. I did a lot of surgical procedures. I'm not an oral surgeon, but I do a hell of a lot of my own oral surgery, and I always have in my private practice. So I was grafting and placing implants, and you name it. I do it all in terms of my restorative cases. And the laser helped me. It helped, you know, to improve my visibility during procedures. I had less concerns when I'm grafting and cutting through bone. And it really just kind of like helped to pivot me and increase my faith in the lasers and their capabilities. So then I continued to purchase more and more. And the one thing that I loved about dental lasers is that in our profession, we have soft tissue and hard tissue lasers, and all professions can't say that. And I really appreciated the fact that I did have that choice. I was able to do a large, I guess I feel like a selection of procedures with the lasers that we have that are available to us. Nowadays, I've incorporated a lot of skincare lasers. So they're a little different, but there are CO2 lasers and there are hair removal lasers. And we have lasers that do procedures such as micro needling, which is like fine little, in almost like a little light lasered incision. So it removes a little bit of tissue and then the tissue heals and tightens. So they all have different modalities. And there's so many on the market now. I don't know how anyone could practice, especially if they're considered cosmetic without a laser.
You know what? You just blew my mind. You might not know where you just blew my mind, but you know, you just really blew my mind because when you're in practice management consulting, you know, I've been telling these kids for 32 years that a bread and butter practice can get you. Number one, you have to get people out of pain. I mean, you got to be able to do oral surgery or endo. You got to get them out of pain. And a lot of the cosmetic people, they just like bleaching, bonding, veneers, and in all honesty, I already pegged you as the soft and pretty bleaching, bonding, veneers, Botox. It just blew my mind that you do blood and guts dentistry too. That is not common.
You read my bio. I went to Jamaica.
I know.
And traveled up and down the country, and I extracted over 300 teeth in a week.
But that didn't mean you liked it. But it sounds like you.
I love it. I love it. You don't do that because you don't like it.
Yeah. So, but do you think that's rare though? Liking bleaching, bonding, veneers, and Botox, and loving blood and guts? Because I mean, I almost never see that ever.
I just think that you don't have the confidence that I have in the skill level in our profession unless you have that kind of background and experience. It doesn't just come because you just like pretty things. You really have to, you've experienced things in life that propel you to do the things that you do well. A lot of what you see me do on Instagram and those procedures, the aesthetic procedures and the pretty stuff, I'm doing what my audience and my patients, are asking me to do. That's actually how I even derived my name, the Lip Doctor. It was started off as like a little tagline that patients gave me, and I just accepted it one day, and my staff started using it, out there on social media. So I didn't develop it; it was developed by the audience. It's okay to be recognized for something, but I told you that my bread and butter is the dentistry. And I always loved oral surgery. I do think that it is kind of like the core of what we do. because you need to have a strong foundation in anatomy. And if you don't, then you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. So I don't think that you should be surprised by that. I do think that most people that excel at something come from a very strong background in their field.
Let me tell you how strongly I feel about this. So, I was born in '62, which was they call that the flash crash, market crash. I mean, '62 it just crashed. Got out of school in '80. That was the worst economy I'd ever seen. 21% interest rates by the Fed's chairman Paul Volcker. You had double-digit inflation, unemployment. Graduated from dental school in '87. March of '87 was Black Monday. The stock market fell a quarter. Then there was Y2K at March 2000. Then there was Lehman's Day. Let's just go back to the last one, Lehman's Day. In Phoenix, 86 dental offices had to close their door. Half of them were kids who had just opened up their practice and thought that the old playbook where you could open your practice and do a bunch of marketing, you get a bunch of patients, that stopped. So half of them were practices that were 1 or 2 years old. The other half were all cosmetic dentists, and I knew these people, and what they did is they were on Scottsdale. You'd come in, they'd take everything out and replace it with Empress, and then big $20,000 cases. And you can always tell the difference between a smart person and a dumb person at a very young age. Just give them $100 when they're 10, and if they go to the mall and come back with a pair of blue jeans in 1 hour, smart people and money always part. They never hang on to their money. And so the high end, during a crash, they quit spending or they wouldn't be rich. And these dentists that were cosmetics, I said to them, all dumb, I'm like, well, just do regular dentistry. And they go, man, I haven't done a root canal or an extraction or a denture or a partial. And I realized, oh my God, all they could do is take out old stuff and replace it with Empress. They had lost all their skill sets. And then, these cycles happen every 10 years. My favorite economist is actually Joseph Schumpeter, who won the Nobel Prize, the Austrian economist, saying that the business cycle, it's a cycle because look who's making all the decisions, a bunch of crazy humans. So every 7 to 10 years, they've made so many bad decisions, it starts another cycle. And like say, I lived through the cycle 80, 87, 2000, Lehman's Day. We're time for another cycle. And the last time this hit, the cosmetic dentists who forgot how to pull a tooth, they were going under. So it's really refreshing to see that there's actually a cosmetic legend guru in America's largest city that still likes blood and guts. And you got to keep that message out there, because in stocks it'd be called diversification. They'd say, Nick, you don't have all your money in this stock, spread it around, And when all your money is in bleaching, bonding, veneers, and the economy contracts, you're not very profitable. I want to go back to another question, because so many people, you're in New York, and the United States is a huge country. In fact, I always get embarrassed when you travel around, because half the people come up to you and say, oh, I visited your country, and I'm just cringing because I know what it's going to mean. It's mean they went to the Greater New York meeting, never left Manhattan, and they think that's Kansas, And half of the people that say they've been to America and they're dentists, they only went to Greater New York, and they literally think Manhattan is the United States of America. But when this pandemic broke out, if you're an American, it first really hit New York hard. I mean, really hard. And now a lot of dentists around the rural part, we're starting to hear that in the biggest city, and then the big city, and back east, that you're 3,000 miles from me, that the corona's coming back, that it's starting to spike back. You're on the ground right there. Is that what you see, or do you not see that? Is corona coming back to New York? Is it going to be like it was, back in March and April?
No, I don't believe that it's going to be back to that extent, only because I think that the majority of New Yorkers are responsible people. I think that we got hit very hard and we handled it very well initially. I think that the influx of people that would travel, that are tourists and travelers that were coming into the area, and initially the influx of flights that come in from the international airports, I think that brought it in very quickly. And then we had to tame the beast. What I can tell you is that I work in downtown Brooklyn, so we are very close to the center, what I call the center of New York now. Manhattan is, of course, exciting, but it's closed down right now. So right now, technically, we're the center that's open, and I'm near Barclays Center and right near all the shopping. So I face Macy's, which is the center of Brooklyn downtown. Anyhow, my area is open, so we're allowed to still conduct business. Not too far from me, there are some specific communities that all of their shopping is completely shut down. So there are stores that are not open within this area due to the large amount of cases in their area. So they're making attempts to self-contain the areas where the numbers are high. So it is very real. And it's a little scary and intimidating because the same way, foreigners were able to come here and we saw the numbers increase until things were shut down. Within this area, in this borough of Brooklyn, I know that a few miles away, there are areas that are completely closed. So what are those people going to do in that area? They can't shop. They can't, do a lot of their normal daily activities. They're going to come outside of that area and engage. So we have to monitor this area very closely because the next area that could potentially be shut down is my area, where my office is actually located. So I do have concerns. So I'm monitoring things very closely. I'm practicing very strict rules in our office environment. I am lucky enough to have 2 offices. So hopefully if one does get shut down, I hope that I can still operate the other one because it's in a completely different community. And I just, I hope for the best, but I do monitor what's going on within this state because it's a little scary because there are a lot of people. I don't know if you've heard, but within New York State, a lot of people are moving also out of the city into the suburbs, like literally. They're getting out of their rental situation because they were in their homes with their young children for months and they couldn't get out. There's nowhere to go. And they feel like cage birds and they're buying homes upstate in Long Island. And so the housing market is going crazy and realtors will tell you, I have a lot of friends that are realtors, that the housing market is going crazy and they don't have enough homes to show. And so there's a lot of changes going on, like physical changes. Rents, I just read this. I think it was the New York Times this week. Rents have dropped to the lowest number in history in New York since I think like the 80s, under $3,000 in Manhattan. And that's unheard of.
So I got to tell you, the advantage of being old, besides just diabetes and high blood pressure and erectile dysfunction, is you see all these rodeos over again, right? The oldest guy that ever went to my lecture was in St. Joe, Missouri, back in the 80s. I think it was like 1989. And I was talking to him. He was 91, and then I figured out he graduated in 27. The stock market didn't crash till 29. The Depression 32 to 36. And I said, well, what did you think of the Great Depression? And how was that? And no, first I asked about Prohibition, and he said number one, that dentistry was so bad that that during the heights of Prohibition, not one officer enforced no alcohol, because the anesthetic at the time was they would give you tablespoon after tablespoon after tablespoon of whiskey until you vomited, and then when you vomited, they'd reach in and they'd extract the tooth. But their liquor was in a medicine bottle, and they got it from the pharmacist, and no one enforced it. And the pharmacist, if he was really nice, would add opium and morphine and cocaine into the anesthesia. So, we have that. But as far as the Depression, though, you know what he said to me? Blew my mind. He goes, the Depression was the best thing that ever happened to dentistry because we were all outside and we were all barber surgeons and no dentist could go inside. But after the Depression, everything was boarded up and went bankrupt, and pretty soon it was abandoned. And then we were able to afford to go inside. And he said, looking back at American dentistry, when we went inside, all the dentists in St. Joe kind of got together and said, let's quit doing the shaving, the hair cutting, and the boots. And when they moved inside, he said that's when we, because Pierre Fichard was a barber surgeon. So he said that was the Great Depression is what ushered out the barber and then into the surgeon and made us what we are today. We went over an hour, but I still got some overtime questions. Can I ask you got time for a couple more questions?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, so when you look at the spectrum of people, and obviously I would judge a younger person like you and beautiful on cosmetics versus an older guy. No, I just would. But the older guys, they always sit there and say, the only porcelain veneers that are pretty and look real, they're stacked porcelain laminates. And then the younger kids saying, oh no, I make all my veneers on a Cerac machine from Dentsply Sirona for $130,000. And my question is, in your high-end market with expectations through the roof, are you old school girl using feldspathic porcelain at a lab, or are you chair-side milling on monolithic porcelain? Because here's the other question we don't get. When people say, well, it doesn't look natural. Well, I mean, what the hell looks natural? When you have lipstick on, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, God, Nikki, you must have incredible circulation. I can see the vermilion borders of your lips. I can almost count the red blood cells. I mean, it's lipstick. So I know I threw a lot at you, but are you doing CAD CAM chairside milling monolithic veneers, or are you old school sending an impression to a lab with feldspathic porcelain?
I'm old school. Probably just has a lot to do with the year that I graduated. And but no, I actually like the results overall from with the feldspathic and my lab. And I honestly did milling for a while, and I just didn't achieve the same results. That's just from my personal experience. I think it kind of depends on, where you also want to financially, I guess, make all your expenses in your business. So for me, it just made more sense to continue to use the lab, because I don't need all of that equipment in my office if I'm not producing and doing as many dental cases as I did in the past. So due to the changes with the aesthetics market, because we have such an aesthetic audience that's more into our spa services, I do not have a need for a milling machine any longer in my office. And like I said, I'm happy with my veneer results with my lab, but I've used the same lab, I think, for at least 17 years. So I have a strong relationship with them, and I think that's important. I think that's an old school frame of thought, once you have that relationship. There was another question. What was another question?
Well, another thing I'm going out with this is beauty. I mean, it's not math. It's not like the cosine and tangent of a number. I mean, it's not an angle. It's what you believe in. When you go around the world, it's very common for Europeans to laugh at Americans of having too white of teeth. And you haven't even seen white till you go to the Middle East, because when you're a girl in the Middle East and you're already covered up in a sari and a veil and the only thing that's going to come out is your teeth, I mean, they bleach and white off the charts. So when I'm in New York, I'll never forget the first time I checked into a hotel in New York. I heard this lady checking in all these people, and I got up to the counter. I said, how many languages can you speak? And she goes, oh, at the Hyatt, they won't even hire you if you can't speak 5 languages. And I thought, holy moly. So you're in the most multicultural city in all the Americas, north and south. When people are coming in, how do you know what's natural and pretty when you're talking to people from around the world? And some people, your version of pretty might look like a cartoon clown white teeth to someone who came from say Germany. So how do you balance all these different expectations from all these different cultures and ethnicities?
That's an interesting question. You know what? I've learned to just sort of rely completely on my own like professional opinion. I listen to the patient and I gain an understanding of their expectations. But I think that the reason why they're here physically in my office today is because they're attracted to my results. So I stick to what I know and what I like. And I don't try to, exaggerate things and overuse things. And even when they make that recommendation, I want them to do things that appear to be as close to natural as possible without being too conservative. And because I want them to enjoy their result also, but I try to be realistic, and that's different for everyone. So you can, do a service on one person who has absolutely no lips and then do the same service on someone who has very large lips. You're going to get two totally different results. So your deliverance is really important. I don't want that person with the large lips to leave looking like a clown. And I don't want the person with small lips to leave looking like they have no result. So, it really, you gain an understanding of what they need to achieve. And believe it or not, during the procedure, a lot of times I'll stop midway and let them look at the results so far to gain their approval and acceptance, and just make sure that we're on the same page. But the key is, just like anything else in life, making sure that you give them a realistic interpretation of what you're going to do before you do it. So I think that people trust me because I'm just very honest from the beginning.
Okay. I can't believe we went over an hour, and I know you're busier than a one-armed dentist, but you gotta at least stay long enough for Botox. I mean, if you would have asked me in dental school that someday one of our classmates would be injecting Botox, I would have thought you were drinking. Where did your journey start with Botox, and is that a big deal in your practice? What's bigger, bleaching, bonding, veneers, Botox? Where does that sit on your menu? Is it an appetizer? Is it really common? Is it a backbone of your practice?
Botox and fillers are the entree. That's it. That's it. That's what we primarily do now. I shouldn't say I don't do. I do a very small percentage of dentistry in my practice. I have associates and they do a lot of the dentistry now. And I also lecture and host webinars. So I have doctors that come here and I do a hands-on and teach them specifically how I do particular procedures. So I set it up as like a university. So you can matriculate from a freshman to a senior. And I'll show you more advanced style techniques to create certain looks. Like now there's something called like a Russian lip. So there are procedures that we do with fillers and Botox. Like another one is the Botox brow lift. So rather than having like a flat brow, you can get a little lift here if you know how that technique. So you have to hit certain muscles in order to achieve that. So you do have to be skilled in order to do it. And I think that's really key, that I continue to share my knowledge. That's what I try to do. I enjoy teaching and just sharing it also with the public, but also with other doctors. So others, in our profession, I hope that our community continues to add these procedures. We're head and neck surgeons. That's who we are by nature. And so if you can intraorally, hit these nerves every day, 20 times a day, guess what you can do extraorally? There's a big correlation between the two areas. I think that we get easily intimidated in our field. However, I think that we rule the head and neck area, and my patients definitely appreciate that. I have one waiting for me right now for some Botox.
So, I'm just saying plastic surgery used to be a taboo subject. Now, if you mention Botox, no one even raises an eyebrow.
Like, it's hard. I'm straining. There's no lines, though. That's the important part. So I'm older, right? I'm not telling you my age, but I'm older. But it moves, so I can make expressions. But it's preventative. So over time, let's say if I've done this for 5 years, this weakens over time and it moves less. So I use less Botox now than I needed in my, let's say, 30s. And I don't need to as many treatments any longer either. But yes, Botox is no longer taboo. I think that long gone the days of, here's the thing, this is another important piece. These are non-invasive procedures. So we know we're aging, we're living longer, but we're aging and we want to still look good. So what's worse? Like, getting the nip and the tuck and the pull, or administering a couple of injectables over the years and trying to sustain that look. Can't lose. I love the idea.
I loaned one of my friends $15,000 for plastic surgery, and now I can't get my money back because now I don't know what he looks like. But hey, Nikki, I could talk to you for 40 days and 40 nights. I know you got patients out there. I just want to sit there and say, on so many levels, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being a role model. Thank you for having such a great attitude during these horrendous times. I mean, you're just a strong person. Love you to death. And I hope someday you grace Dentaltown with we put 400 online courses on Dentaltown. They've been viewed 1 million times, or an article. I know if we put your, but if you ever want an article or an online CE, it'd be an honor to have you on here. Thank you so much for coming on this show today. And if something ever happens, or you got something new to talk about, you ever want to come back, you got my cell, you got howard@dentaltown.com. Give me a call, and it was an honor and a privilege to have you.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this more than I of course thought that I would. I am so thrilled that now I have a friendship with you, and that I was able to reach out to, like I said, our fellow dentists out there, and hopefully encourage someone.
But for the record, let's be clear. I tried to become a patient. I sent her all my dental workup, and I said, what would you recommend for me? I said, and she said, the best way for you to lose 10 pounds ugly fat is not liposuction. It'd be to cut off your head. And that was your entire treatment plan for me. I didn't say, hey, thank you so much, Nikki. And after the pandemic, I'll see you at the Greater New York meeting to see what the real America looks like in Manhattan.
That's right.
All right. Have a great day.
I'll be there.